My boyfriend had this tight circle, 3 guys and 1 girl. Before I ever laid eyes on them, he gave me a warning I can still recite perfectly. If you ever cross that girl, we're done. No discussion. I nodded like it was nothing, but my curiosity was already burning. Every group has one, that untouchable girl, the one everyone shields, the one no one questions. And I've never been the type to bow down to anyone. Marcus looked at me with that protective intensity that made my roommates groan whenever I mentioned his name. I'm serious, Olivia. Natalie isn't just some friend. She's the most important person in my world. If you want us to work, you need to respect her. You need to protect her. I smiled sweetly, keeping my voice steady. Of course. Your friends are my friends now. I'm sure Natalie and I will get along perfectly. When I told my roommates about his little speech, they exploded. You're literally the most attractive girl at this entire university. One snapped. And you're letting some guy dictate how you treat another girl like she's royalty? This will end badly. They stormed out, furious. I didn't waste energy arguing. Instead, I fixed my makeup, grabbed Marcus by the hand and said with a bright smile, "Let's go. We don't want to keep your friends waiting." When we entered the coffee shop, I spotted her immediately. Natalie. She sat dead center at the table, wearing an ivory sweater and a smile so innocent it seemed practiced. 2 attractive guys flanked her on either side, both far too comfortable in her orbit. That was all the confirmation I needed. She was the sun and they were her satellites. I'd expected coldness or arrogance, but instead she jumped up and rushed toward me, grabbing my hands like we were childhood best friends. You must be Marcus's girlfriend. You're stunning. Everyone, this is Olivia. Her enthusiasm felt excessive, but the flicker in her eyes told the real story. She was evaluating me. Tyler, the one with dark-rimmed glasses, gave me a quick handshake and a forced smile. Connor, the tall one with a military-style haircut, didn't even pretend to hide his hostility. I met both their gazes and smiled wider. Natalie still held my hands, her voice sugary sweet. So what were you thinking, falling for Marcus? He's such a disaster. Marcus laughed and ruffled her hair like she was a child. Stop teasing. You're being dramatic again. Then he removed his jacket and draped it over her chair. You always get chilly. The moment crystallized. Everyone went silent. Natalie tilted her head toward me with a small pout. Aren't you jealous, Olivia? He's spoiling me right in front of you. Marcus's expression tensed like he was bracing for an explosion, but I just smiled, calm and composed. Of course not. Marcus told me you're like his little sister. Now that I've met you, I completely understand. You're adorable. Her smile froze for just a heartbeat. The guys visibly relaxed, not realizing what had just transpired. Natalie recovered quickly, pretending to blush. You're different from the others. Marcus's exes always despised me. I tried to befriend them, but they were so hostile. I smiled, keeping my tone warm. Maybe they just didn't understand how sweet you are. Her eyes flickered again. Confusion, irritation, something darker. Then dinner arrived and I could sense it, the tension building beneath Natalie's flawless surface. Moments later, she gasped. A bit of soup had splashed across her ivory sweater. Before I could even process it, Marcus shoved past me and grabbed napkins. Natalie, are you all right? Connor glared at me like I just committed murder. I knew it. I knew she'd cause problems. Tyler crossed his arms. First day meeting her and she's already accidentally hurting Natalie. Really? Marcus turned to me, his voice sharp. Olivia. Apologize to her. Now. Natalie buried her face in her hands, but I saw it. That small, satisfied smile behind her fingers. Most girls would have snapped, maybe even walked out. But not me. I let my eyes fill with tears, just enough to shimmer under the light. I'm so sorry, Natalie. I didn't see you when I reached for the soup. I swear it was an accident. My voice trembled perfectly. I really want all of you to like me. I was just so nervous. I would never hurt anyone, especially you. Natalie froze, caught completely off guard. Her little performance had just been outmaneuvered. Of course, she said finally, forcing a shaky laugh. Don't blame Olivia, guys. She didn't mean it. Marcus looked between us, uncertain of what to believe. He hugged me awkwardly, guilt flashing across his face. But before he could say anything, Natalie clapped her hands. Okay, let's just forget it and go to the pool. Marcus, you promised to teach me, remember? He hesitated. Yeah, sure. And just like that, everyone followed her lead again, as if nothing had happened. I smiled to myself, quietly watching her walk ahead. She really thought she'd won, but she had no idea who she was dealing with. The pool area glowed under amber lighting. I stood near the edge, watching Natalie giggle as she dipped her toes in the water. She wore a floral one-piece, modest, but perfectly chosen to make her look fragile. The kind of girl who always needed rescuing. The boys gathered around her, naturally. Marcus adjusted the straps of her swimsuit. Connor tossed her a towel. Tyler stood nearby, arms crossed, pretending not to watch her too intently. I'd witnessed this dynamic before. Different faces, same energy. The perfect girl surrounded by her devoted protectors. I slipped off my sandals and tied my hair into a high ponytail. The sound made them all glance my direction. Natalie noticed first. Her smile faltered for just a second. Then she transformed it into something sweet and innocent. Olivia, you came too. But do you even know how to swim? Not really, I said calmly. Maybe Marcus can teach me. The atmosphere shifted. Marcus froze, his hand still holding Natalie's towel. Natalie tilted her head, pretending to think. Oh, but he promised me first. Remember, Marcus? You said you'd help me practice tonight. Her voice was light, but her eyes were razor sharp. Marcus hesitated. Right. I did promise. Just give me a minute. Okay? Of course, I said, smiling. I'll manage. The water was cool as I stepped in, goosebumps rising on my skin. I didn't miss the way the other guys looked, especially Marcus. He was trying not to stare but failing miserably. Natalie noticed too. She let out a dramatic shriek, grabbing Marcus's arm. Marcus, I'm scared. Don't let go. He steadied her, muttering something about how she needed to relax. From where I stood, the sight was almost pathetic. Her wrapped around him, the perfect picture of manufactured vulnerability. Then a voice came from behind me. Need a hand, beautiful? A guy I didn't recognize, tall, confident, probably from another program, smiled down at me. Before I could respond, Marcus's voice cut through the air. She's my girlfriend. Back off. The stranger raised an eyebrow, looking between Marcus and Natalie clinging to his arm. Yeah? You sure about that? Doesn't look like it from where I'm standing. The jab landed perfectly. Marcus turned red. Watch it, man. Hey, I said quickly, giving the stranger a polite smile. I'm fine, really. Thanks for offering. He winked. If you ever get tired of this circus, find me. He handed me a slip of paper and walked away. Natalie giggled behind me, her tone dripping with false innocence. Oh no, Marcus. Looks like your girlfriend's making new friends already. Marcus's expression darkened. Olivia, you shouldn't talk to guys like that. They just want attention. I looked at him, quiet for a moment. I wouldn't have to if I wasn't standing here alone. The tension was thick enough to drown in. Tyler cleared his throat. Olivia, if you really don't know how to swim, I can show you the basics. It's not complicated. Sure, I said softly. Thanks, Tyler. Natalie's smile vanished. Tyler, she's fine. You don't have to. But Tyler was already in the water beside me. Connor joined us reluctantly, muttering something about just keeping watch. As I moved closer, a sharp pain shot through my leg. A cramp. I gasped and lost my balance. Sinking slightly. Olivia. Connor reached for me, his strong arms pulling me up. My leg, I whispered. It hurts. Tyler swam closer immediately, concern flashing in his eyes. He grabbed my calf gently, massaging it underwater to ease the tension. The moment was innocent, but the sight must have looked very different from afar. Natalie's voice sliced through the air. Connor, what do you think you're doing? He froze. Tyler let go instantly, startled. And in that brief chaos, I slipped underwater again, just for a second. When I came up gasping for air, my lips brushed Tyler's accidentally. The sound of Natalie's gasp echoed across the pool. The whole world seemed to stop. I pushed away, coughing lightly, still catching my breath. Tyler looked mortified, staring at the water instead of me. Connor was silent. Marcus looked furious. Natalie stormed toward me, her voice trembling with manufactured outrage. Olivia, how could you? You're Marcus's girlfriend. You were practically kissing Connor and Tyler in front of everyone. I blinked at her, stunned by the audacity. But before I could speak, Tyler snapped, his calm facade finally breaking. That's not what happened, he said louder than I'd ever heard him. She cramped up. She was drowning. I helped her. Connor nodded, his voice rough but steady. He's right. You're twisting it, Natalie. Her face went pale, then red, then pale again. For the first time, the boys weren't standing beside her. They were standing in front of her, blocking her from me, not protecting her from me. The balance had shifted. Marcus looked between us all, his confusion written across his face. Tyler, you're defending her? Tyler turned toward him, water dripping from his hair. I'm telling the truth. I stayed quiet, wrapping a towel around myself, pretending to be shaken. Inside I could feel it, the tide changing. Natalie tried to smile again, but it didn't reach her eyes. You're all misunderstanding. I didn't mean. No one listened. I stepped out of the pool, my bare feet cold against the concrete. I could feel every eye on me, but none of it mattered. For the first time since meeting them, Natalie wasn't untouchable anymore. And I wasn't just Marcus's girlfriend anymore. I was the girl who'd survived her little performance and turned it against her without saying a word. The next morning, the campus felt different. People always say you can feel when rumors start spreading. They're right. Every hallway seemed louder. Every whisper stopped when I walked by. I kept my head up, pretending not to notice. By lunchtime, Marcus had already texted me twice. We need to talk. Please don't ignore me. I didn't reply. Instead, I went to the dining hall. And there she was, Natalie. She sat at her usual table, surrounded by her boys. Or at least what was left of them. Connor was staring at his phone, detached. Tyler wasn't there. And Marcus looked like someone who hadn't slept. I walked past them, tray in hand, and sat at a different table near the window. For the first time, I didn't care if she saw me. A few minutes later, Tyler appeared, holding his lunch. He scanned the room, hesitated, then walked straight toward me. Can I sit here? Sure, I said, trying to sound casual. When he sat down, the room got noticeably quieter. You could almost hear the gossip spreading like wildfire. He gave a small, reassuring smile. Don't mind them. I don't, I said. I stopped minding last night. He chuckled softly, eyes fixed on his tray. Natalie's not taking it well. She's not used to losing. I'm not trying to make her lose, I said quietly. I'm just done playing her game. That made him look up. For a second our eyes met and I saw something new there. Not pity, not curiosity. Respect. Before I could say anything else, a familiar voice broke the silence. Well, this is cozy. Natalie stood beside our table, her perfect smile back in place, though her hands were trembling slightly. Her tone was polite enough to fool everyone. Except me. Morning, Natalie, I said evenly. Good morning, Olivia. She turned to Tyler. And good morning to you too. I see you've switched sides. Tyler sighed. There are no sides. Of course there are, she said sweetly. There always are. She looked back at me. Can I sit? You already are, I said quietly. Her smile tightened. I heard some interesting things today. People are saying you've been getting close to everyone in the group. Connor, Tyler, even Marcus. Rumors travel fast when someone's desperate, I said. The color drained from her face for a split second before she forced another smile. You really think you can turn them against me? I don't need to. You're doing that yourself. The air around us froze. Tyler set his fork down slowly. Natalie, maybe you should. No, she snapped, then immediately softened her tone. Sorry. I just don't like lies being spread about me. I leaned back calm. Then maybe stop creating them. Her eyes flashed. You're not as innocent as you pretend to be. Neither are you, I said. The dining hall was completely silent now. You could hear the hum of the refrigerator from across the room. Natalie stood up, her mask finally cracking. You think you've won, don't you? I think, I said softly, that I stopped playing your game. She stared at me for a long moment before turning around and leaving, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. The second she was gone, conversations resumed. Louder, messier, full of speculation. Tyler looked at me half impressed, half worried. You just dismantled the queen bee in front of everyone. No, I said, picking up my drink. I just reminded people she bleeds like the rest of us. He smiled faintly, but his tone was serious. She won't let it go. I'm counting on it. That evening, I went back to my dorm and lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You think this is over? You have no idea who you're dealing with. I didn't need to ask who it was. Natalie had just declared another round. And I was ready, because now it wasn't about Marcus anymore. It wasn't even about revenge. It was about balance, and making sure she finally saw what it felt like to lose control. The next day, the dining hall buzzed with a kind of tension that didn't need words. Everyone knew something was coming. They just didn't know what. I'd barely walked in when I saw her, Natalie. She stood near the center of the room, holding her phone like it was a weapon. Two girls I didn't recognize stood on either side of her. New recruits, probably. Her replacements for the loyalty she'd already lost. She spotted me instantly and smiled. That flawless smile that never quite reached her eyes. Good morning, Olivia, she said brightly. Natalie, you've been busy lately. I try to stay productive. Her smile sharpened. Oh, I can tell. Word is you've been connecting with everyone lately. Connor, Tyler, even Marcus. Impressive. The room went still. People were pretending not to listen, but every ear was on us. Tyler was already sitting a few tables away, watching carefully. Rumors again? I asked calmly. You really don't rest. Not rumors, she said, raising her phone. Screenshots. A few gasps rippled through the tables nearby. She turned the screen toward me and I saw what she'd done. Fake messages. Dozens of them. Conversations I'd never had. Twisted words that made it look like I'd been flirting with all three guys, like I'd been plotting against her. She'd crafted it perfectly. It looked real. But I'd been ready for this. Cute, I said quietly. But maybe next time, make sure the timestamps match your time zone. She blinked. What? You forgot that when you fake screenshots, the metadata still shows your account. Rookie mistake. I pulled out my phone, scrolling until I found what I needed. The backup I'd made the night before. The message Connor had sent me, warning me this might happen. Tyler stood up, crossed the room and stopped right beside me. Let me see, he said, taking my phone. Then he looked at Natalie. You sent those messages, didn't you? You pretended to be her. Natalie's eyes darted from me to Tyler. Her mask slipping. That's ridiculous. No, he interrupted, voice low but firm. What's ridiculous is how far you'll go to stay in control. Murmurs spread across the dining hall like wildfire. Connor walked in right then, his timing almost cinematic. He froze when he saw us, then sighed. The kind of sigh that comes from someone who's finally done lying for someone else. She asked me to help fake them, he said flatly. I didn't, but she tried. The silence that followed was heavier than any shout. Natalie's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her two new followers shifted uncomfortably, clearly realizing they'd chosen the wrong side. You really thought you could ruin me with a few fake texts? I asked, my voice steady. You should have stuck with playing innocent. You were better at that. For a moment I thought she might scream. But she didn't. She just stood there, frozen, her hands trembling around her phone. Tyler looked at her, then at me. Let's go, he said quietly. We walked out together, leaving behind a dining hall full of whispers and stares. I didn't need to look back to know what they were saying. For the first time, Natalie wasn't the center of the story. She was the punchline. Later that evening I found her again. Not because I was looking for her, but because she was exactly where I expected her to be. The back courtyard behind the library was empty, except for one figure sitting on a stone bench, her. No makeup, no entourage. Just Natalie staring at her phone, her shoulders shaking slightly. If you came to gloat, she said without looking up, go ahead. Get it over with. I didn't, I said softly. I came because I didn't want to win like this. She laughed bitterly. You already did. No, I said, sitting at the far end of the bench. You just finally ran out of people to hide behind. For a long time, neither of us said anything. Then she whispered, do you know what it's like to be told your whole life that you're special? That people love you because you're perfect? and that if you stop being perfect, they'll leave. I looked at her. She wasn't the untouchable princess anymore. She just looked tired. Maybe now you can figure out who you are when you're not performing. She wiped her eyes roughly. You think it's that easy? No, I said quietly. But it's a start. For the first time since we met, Natalie didn't argue. She just nodded almost to herself. When I walked away, I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt done. The game was over.